All right, what's up, boxing fans? It's Aztec 101 in the ring. So, um, it's been a few days now after Canelo versus Triple G, and it seems like the controversy is still alive. A lot of people are still talking about the decision, and I'm noticing that you're getting a lot of different, or I'm getting a lot of different responses. There's some people saying that, um, Triple G won wide. There's some people saying Canelo clearly won. There's people saying it was a draw. Pretty much the entire spectrum of what it could be is being shown by boxing fans. Whether Triple G winning, Canelo winning, draw, wide decisions. I'm just seeing a lot of different scorecards, a lot of different people. You know, saying which rounds won. Some people are saying, hey, Canelo won the first 4 rounds. Some people are saying Canelo won the first 3. Some people were saying that Canelo only won the second round. So it's there's different opinions, and I think it's only this type of fight and the way people are responding. It's only showing that the fight was close and hard to score. Very hard to score. But at the end of the day, I do want to talk about the whether this is is it corruption? I've seen judges, they make a bad score. We saw it with Timothy Bradley and Manny Pacquiao. A lot of people were saying that the first fight between Kovalev and Ward was the wrong score. So there's so many different fights. There's fights where the wrong person gets announced the winner. But in this case, I think that the right outcome came out of it. They did not show which one out of the two won the fight clearly, so they need to do it again. It's part of boxing. We used to have boxing historically used to have a lot more rematches. Used to have a lot more multiple fights. They go into trilogies consistently, and this is something that I guess it needs to come back. It needs to come back, especially with a fight like this. And I'm happy that it turned out to be a draw. That third scorecard that was announced could have gone either way. And we could have ended up with, just a decision on one of them winning. And we might not be talking about a possible fight next year. The fact that they're doing this again is actually a good thing because, based on everyone's opinion, you're seeing so many different opinions. There's no clear winner. But I am going to say that I stick by my scorecard. I stick by what I saw. And I do feel that a lot of people saw a different fight. A lot of people saw a different fight. Well, now, what got in the way of that? Could have been alcohol. It could have been the atmosphere. It could be, personal biases. It could be, subjective scoring. There's so many different reasons on why someone would lean in one direction or the other. I mean, some people might say that my bias is I'm a Canelo fan, right? Which is fair. But at the end of the day, I do stand by my scorecard. I do think that I have it right. Now, let's talk about the fight. Canelo versus Triple G. Fight was a good fight. I'm seeing a lot of people dissatisfied. They're not happy, not just with the outcome, but they didn't like what they saw, which is fine. I think a lot of people expected this to be because it was marketed as this is going to be a war, and I think they thought more of a brutal war. Someone's going down, someone's getting knocked out. Not a highly technical boxing match. So it probably got in the way in a lot of people's, the way they're able to enjoy the fight, because Canelo pretty much pulled off a Floyd Mayweather. He pulled a Floyd Mayweather, and he had that strategy. The one thing with Floyd is that, and I would notice this after a lot of fights, no matter how he performed, the fact that he was running, the fact that, he wouldn't go for the knockout, or, he'll have 12-round decisions with fighters that we know he could beat, right? This is a little bit different, I guess, because these guys, they're evenly matched. They're evenly matched. And walking into the fight, not a lot of people thought that they were evenly matched. Gennady Golovkin, I would say, would be the favorite. Would be the favorite. Him being the middleweight, him having a knockout streak, just being the bigger fighter with the pedigree, the amateur pedigree. I'm sure a lot of people thought Golovkin was going to win the fight. But leading into the fight, we kind of had an idea that this was going to be each other's toughest fight. You know what I mean? But, Triple G, in my opinion, Triple G did enough to win the rounds where Canelo took a step back. The rounds where Canelo wasn't throwing punches. And that's one of the things that if they do have a rematch, Canelo's going to have to fix. Because he did give up rounds. He did. There's rounds where I do have to give Golovkin the round because of volume. There's the fact that he was landing more punches. But at the end of the day, the one that I felt won the most rounds was Canelo. By a small margin. 1 round. Two rounds at the most. Right? Which is why I'm not mad at the scorecards. Let's talk about the obvious scorecard, right? 10-2. 10 rounds to 2. Whether or not this is corruption, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me to call it corruption because this could easily just be a bad scorecard. I think that Teddy Atlas is irresponsible in automatically jumping to a conclusion without having any proof and saying, well, because the scorecard was so wide, automatically that does mean that this is a corrupt judge. To go on public and immediately after the fight passionately say that this is a corruption is irresponsible from his point of view. Now, for us as boxing fans, we can say whatever the fuck we want. That's how it looks, right? To some people. Some people see that scorecard and they automatically think, well, you know what? He was bought or she was bought, which is fine. But a professional, I would think that Teddy Atlas spoke a little bit too soon. And he's very passionate. He runs his mouth a lot and he's quick to jump to conclusions. I mean, logically, I would think that if this is corruption, I mean, why wouldn't there just be 2 judges scoring it for Canelo, and then you got a secure win? Why a draw? Why do the corruption and end up with a draw? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it was a bad scorecard. At the end of the day, I think it was a bad scorecard. But I definitely don't think this has anything to do with corruption. There's a lot of people that are upset with one of the judges. I think it's C.J. Ross scorecard for Canelo versus Floyd. And, there was one judge that actually gave it to Canelo. Bad scoring. Bad scoring. Now, could that have been a judge that was bought? No. Again, doesn't make sense. I would think that if you're going to pull off something, you're going to pull it off either to the fullest, or you're going to do it in a way where you're not going to get caught and it doesn't seem so obvious. These scorecards are so bad sometimes that they're obviously just bad scorecards. And you get them in boxing all the time. There's a reason why we have 3 judges. If we had one judge and just one person that makes the final decision on who wins the fight, you know, we might end up, it'll be easier to corrupt the sport, you know. And a bad scorecard can really make a difference. But having three does even out the playing field. You know, and at the end of the day, this is why, you know, a lot of boxing fans, they request. I mean, you had Conor McGregor request international judge when he fought Floyd. So fighters understand this. They understand this. They understand that different judges see different things. And depending on who you're fighting in front of will depend on, you know, how your fight is going to be scored. Canelo versus Triple G was a great fight. I'm pissed that this had to be the end of like, this is what we're going to have to talk about for the next couple months. I wish that there was an opportunity for us to take all the judges after every fight and have a press conference where they're there and explain what they saw and explain the fight. There has to be something done. That's the only way I think that we can fix this is having the judges come out there and have an explanation for every round. I think that back in the day, like a long time ago, fights used to happen and the public wouldn't know about the outcome of the fight until days later. You know, it used to be a little bit different. And then now, you know, now everybody finds out immediately. And we're all analyzing it. And at the end of the day, a lot of us have questions for these judges, you know. We have questions, and I think it's fair to say that when we're interested in hearing what the fighter thinks, you know, hey, do you think that you won the fight? We're interested to know what Triple G thinks, what Canelo thinks. It's time to start asking these questions towards the judges, you know. And I think the media should be doing a little bit something about it. Maybe cornering these judges, finding these judges, and you know, asking these tough questions. You know, even if it's when they're not expecting it, you know, when they're scoring or judging a fight that has nothing to do with what you're asking them. You know, let's say the lady that scored the Canelo Triple G fight wide. You know, the next time she scores a fight, it'd be nice to see one of the media members actually walk up to her and ask her, hey, what the fuck were you thinking? You know? You know, the outrage, hopefully it doesn't end, because I think that there's something that has to be done with scoring and boxing. It has to be a little bit more, if it's gonna be so subjective, at least the judges have to give a reason on why they gave a round to a certain person. And that's it. And you know what? I think that these judges need to start using, you know, start scoring some of the rounds that they see as a draw. They need to score them a draw. It seems like a lot of these guys, I mean, for the past 15, 20 years, judges are just leaning in one direction. Even if they don't feel that there's an obvious winner for the round, they will still pick one. They will still pick one. They won't give a draw in a round. And I think that's a little bit irresponsible. I think that we need to start doing that again. As boxing needs to get back to that. Be honest in what you saw. Now let's talk a little bit about their performance. I mean, if there's anybody watching this, I would like to know, what if you guys are watching this live, or if you're, watching this later, who did you have winning? What do you think about the outcome of the fight? And what do you think about their performances? Because I do want to talk about scoring this fight. Marvin Gardens. It's not proof of corruption, but it is suspicious that she has had a score like this in the 3 most high-profile fights. If it keeps happening, it's pretty blatant corruption. What's up, man? What's up, Marvin Gardens? Yeah, I get it. Canelo, right? 3. There was the Lara fight, the Mayweather fight, and then this fight. You know what? There is something that makes me think that there's corruption involved, but I don't know if it's corruption in the way that you're thinking it, Part of me is thinking that there's something going on where they're making it a staple to are they trying to get people to not like Canelo? Because the way I see it is, if I was a promoter, and let's say I was stooping low, and I was trying to find a way to give an edge to my fighter. If I were to pay a judge and have him in my pocket, the one thing I would make sure that I tell him is, do not make it look obvious. Right? Don't make it look obvious. I think that's the only thing I would say. Hey, I need my guy to win. I need to have my guy ahead. But don't make it obvious. These scorecards are so obvious, it just does not seem like corruption. It seems like bad scoring. Bad scoring. You know what I mean? And it also seems like some of these fighters or some of these judges, literally they have a preference. Some judges, and I've heard boxers talk about this, leading up to Mayweather fights sometimes, when they already announce who the judges are. Someone would say, a boxer would say, oh yeah, I know that judge, big fan of defense, big fan of ring generalship. Another judge doesn't really count body shots. Another judge, isn't really looking at effective aggression. Is more looking at punches landed. There's different judges, and I think it's we need to have sort of like an open profile for every, just like we have BoxRec. You know what I mean? We need to have a box rec, but for judges. So that way we can start recognizing these judges, and we go, hey, you know what? Out of these 3 judges, we know that one of them likes offense, the other one likes defense, and the other one is pretty square in the middle. But we don't really it's very hard to keep up with the judges. We already got fighters to keep up with, so I know it's difficult. But at the end of the day, we kind of need to start realizing that we need to keep an eye on these judges. Because they do their job, they submit the scores, and then they disappear. And little do you know, the next fight you're watching, they could be in there scoring the fight. You don't know. Apparently, she had scored the Kell Brook fight for when Kell Brook fought Errol Spence, and she had Errol Spence winning before he knocked out Kell Brook, right? Which kind of goes against what the public was seeing. A lot of people were saying that Kell Brook was ahead before he got knocked out, that he was winning the fight. She judged the Canelo Khan fight, and she had Amir Khan ahead of Canelo before Canelo knocked out Amir Khan. Now in this fight, I think she there's a video where she gave a reason. She said that you can't just score on aggression. It has to be effective aggression. And that's one thing that I was noticing throughout the fight. It didn't look like Triple G was effective. To me, it did not look like his aggression was effective. You know what I mean? So I just think she had a bad scorecard. She was giving Canelo too much credit. You know, there's certain things where I can meet in the middle with what she said as far as aggression, but 10 rounds to 2 is too much. And you know, like I said, if it's corruption, if I were Golden Boy, I would make sure I tell every single judge, yo, I need my guy to win, but don't make it obvious. Don't make it an obvious robbery. It's going to make my guy look bad. It doesn't make sense to pay the judge and say, look, I don't give a fuck what you do. Score the first 5 rounds for my fighter. Doesn't matter. I don't care if there's backlash, just do it. I don't think so. I don't think the promoter would benefit from this. This is eventually only hurting Oscar De La Hoya. It's hurting Golden Boy. It's hurting Canelo. You know, a lot of people are, they're blaming Canelo for the scorecard. You know what I mean? So it's not a good look. At the end of the day, it's not a good look. So I really don't see this. And I think, people at Golden Boy, not just Oscar De La Hoya, I'm pretty sure everyone at Golden Boy is fully aware that a scorecard like this only ruins the way that people view not just the fighter, but the fight itself. And a fight of this magnitude, I just do not see the promotional company really trying to fuck that up. You know what I mean? I honestly think it's this one person that had an off night, and there has to be an explanation. There has to be an explanation. There has to be also an opportunity for the scorecard to change. There has to be an opportunity where the judge can then watch the fight later. Change anything on the scorecard that should be changed if they feel that they got it wrong, because they only get one chance at it. And I'm telling you, from the time that I saw it the first time live to the time that I actually scored it on my live stream, a few rounds changed. A few rounds got turned around. So, these judges, they don't get the opportunity to turn their scorecards around. But, when I'm looking at the scorecards too, I'm seeing that, the judges, the only thing that they got really, the main rounds that they agreed on was the 10th, 11th, and 12th. All 3 judges gave it to Canelo. All 3. I gave the 11th round to Triple G. So even if you're okay with one of the judges, at the end of the day, there's still differences in opinion when you start looking at the actual rounds. And if you compare your scorecard, even with the scorecard of someone you agree with, even a reasonable scorecard like the draw or the one that favored Triple G, There were some of the early rounds, too, that were obvious rounds for Canelo, where a lot of people were saying, hey, he took the first 4 rounds. And the judge that gave the fight to Triple G gave those rounds to Triple G, too. I think he only gave one of the rounds to Canelo in the early rounds. 1 or 2. And that in itself, I mean, if you look at even the judge that gave it to Triple G, even if you look at that, that seems inaccurate based on what I saw. It seems inaccurate based on what other reporters are saying that they saw. Other boxing fans. Seems like the consistent trend that I'm hearing is Canelo won the early rounds. But according to this judge, no. So it's kind of tough. I think it only proves that A, this was a close fight, and B, it was a hard, tough fight to score. You need magnifying glasses. You need with these broadcasts, I think that they need to have better angles when capturing the action in the ring. Something has to be done. I'm tired of seeing a lot of fights where you don't really get to see the action in the ring because of the camera angles. The camera is either, I mean, sometimes you get some great shots, some amazing shots. You know what I mean? But there's a majority of the fight where I get it, the fighter's moving around, but based on the angles that they air, you don't see if the punch landed, you don't know if it grazed, you don't know if it missed. So I wish they covered all the angles. And then after they broadcast the fight, they release all the angles. So there is no question on whether the punch landed or not. But yeah, I mean, I'm starting to see that some, I think Triple G fans are not, they're not, honestly, I'm going to say this. I think you guys are not honest. I'm just going to have to say that. I really think you're not honest, because at the end of the day, there could be a rematch coming up, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they don't even want to see the rematch. They don't even want to see the rematch. And I think I know why. Because you know that this was a close fight. It didn't go your way, the way that you thought it was going to go in your little fantasy. And now the thought of a rematch, this shit is going to turn into a nightmare. Because there's in the back of your head, you know, one, this could have gone to Canelo in this fight. Two, you know that in the next fight, Canelo's going to do better. And Triple G is going to show up as the same Triple G. I want to see the next fight. Honestly, I think that the next fight is going to be much more convincing. We're going to see a clear winner in the rematch. And if we don't, we get a trilogy. But I think we're going to see a clear winner. People having the scorecards wide for Triple G. I wish I kind of got some viewers, some Triple G fans, and they can lead me in the right direction and kind of let me know what the hell was going on through your head. You know, when you're watching the fight and you're scoring the fight comfortably for Triple G, 7 rounds, I can see it. It makes sense. I could see it. There's some swing rounds. If I turned them over to Triple G, it makes sense. But having the fight 8-4 for Triple G, that does not make sense at all. I cannot find 8 rounds that Triple G won. You know, one thing I am going to say, though, is that let me not be so negative about what I saw from Triple G, all right? The one thing I liked about Triple G is he never gave up. Even though Canelo was making a miss, he continued fighting. He kept trying. That's where the work rate came from, you know? Him being stubborn. He kept trying. And that's a good trait for a fighter. He ended up figuring out how to land certain shots. His feints became effective in the middle rounds when Canelo was slowing down. You know, he kept Canelo moving, which was also effective. You know, he kept Canelo moving, tired him out. That's effective. You know, so that in that aspect, that I have to give Triple G some credit. But at the end of the day, most of those rounds, I felt like Canelo was in control. You know, that to me, I think if you're in control, that reflects your ring generalship. Then you look at defense. In most of those rounds, you know, in all the rounds, Canelo was excelling in defense, right? Now when you look at offense, effective aggression, Canelo had very little aggression in some of the fights. And they came in spurts. But Triple G had constant aggression, right? But the effectiveness of his constant aggression came in spurts. You get what I'm saying? Like, Canelo would throw a few shots and they'd land, and they're effective. Triple G, he'd throw many shots. But every once in a while, he would land a few shots, and they were effective. So Triple G threw more and landed consistently less effective punches. So, I mean, it's very hard to score when you're watching this. Very hard to score. Which one was the better game plan? I don't know. They're going to need another fight. They're going to need another 12 rounds. I think, and then Daniel Jacobs, he looks surprised that this is a draw. He thought Triple G won, which I don't understand. I don't get it. Because he was dropped in this fight. Sure, a lot of us felt like he did really well, that he probably could have edged it. But he was dropped in this fight, and he did not perform like Canelo did. He was getting hurt. He was getting hit with big flush shots. He gave shots back too, you know. That fight was also a little tough to score. It was back and forth. But his performance was nowhere near what Canelo did to Triple G. I have never seen a fighter do what Canelo did to Triple G. Never. Triple G is an offensive monster, and he still is. But in that 12-round period, he was struggling to land. Struggling to land the jab, struggling to close off the ring, struggling to do the things that he is very good at doing. While Canelo, on the other hand, fairly easily was able to make a miss. Fairly easily was able to counter. And he showed he had a better jab. If they have a rematch, I wonder what people think. I wonder what people have, who they have winning the rematch. To me, I think it's an easy bet. Mr. Boxing Today compared this to Pacquiao Marquez 3. It's just one of those fights everyone sees something different. Yeah. Yeah, everyone sees something different. I mean, even all three judges, they had different scorecards. Isn't that insane? All three judges had different scorecards. You know, the only thing that they were able to agree on was that the last 3 rounds went to Canelo. Other than that, their rounds are completely different. They have to have the fight again. I think so that way there's a clear winner. Who knows? Triple G might come back in this fight and finish the job if they do a rematch. Cuadras Estrada. I didn't score the fight. But I thought Estrada won the fight. I didn't score it. I just enjoyed it. But I thought Estrada won the fight. Very good fight. And that's another fight I got to watch again. Maybe I'll do a live scoring of that fight too. That might be fun. I had a lot of fun kind of, announcing the fight and scoring it live. So maybe I'll do that for the Cuadras Estrada fight. But yeah, I had Estrada winning. So let's see here. So yeah, I mean, as far as the topic of at hand, whether this is corruption or not, but it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to call this corruption, or it doesn't make sense, even if it is corruption. What doesn't make sense is Oscar De La Hoya paying one judge and hoping that that would turn the fight. I mean, if you're going to pay a judge, you pay two. That secures a win. But let's say he's able to get to one judge, right? Then the next step is, A, if you're going to swing it my way, don't make it obvious. Don't make it wide. Don't bring me any attention. You know what I mean? You know, if you're working in front of a cash register and you're gonna take money from the cash register, don't fucking take the whole thing, unless you're just don't give a fuck if you're gonna get caught. You know what I mean? I have a hard time just seeing this as corruption. I have a hard time. I think it's a very bad scorecard. And I think that the judge needs to explain herself. Boxing needs to get with the times. It needs to start growing a little bit, you know. There's a lot of different things that I wish changed. I wish, you know, we had instant replay available for the referees so they could review in between rounds, review a certain aspect, maybe a call that they made, and they could reverse, you know, any calls. And maybe they call a low blow and it wasn't a low blow. Or maybe they missed a low blow. You know what I mean? Maybe they called a knockdown that wasn't a knockdown. Instead of making it so end all be all by their decision at that very moment, I wish there was something that they could do to come back and correct any mistake that they made. Like in football. You know what I mean? In football, the you know, one team can challenge a call. They get an opportunity to challenge a call. And I think that's good. That's good for the sport. You know? And it's kind of one of those things where it could be a little bit universal. I would like to see that in soccer too. You know, sometimes in soccer they call it an offsides and it's not. They call something a foul and it's not. Being able to go back, review the tape, and seeing if what you said really happened, I think that's necessary for sports. Especially in boxing, when people are paying money. There's so many people paying money for these fights that if you hurt the sport, if you give out a bad product, people are upset with what they got. They're not coming back. And that affects the sport as a whole. It mostly affects too the ratings of future fights directly for that particular fighter. You know, Canelo versus whoever happens next, I think won't do very well. You know, I think if he ends up fighting someone else other than Triple G, I don't think the numbers will be very well. I think this left a bad taste in people's mouths because you have, you know, all of media zoning in on that scorecard. Marvin Gardens, they should let the judges watch footage of different angles in between rounds. Exactly. Exactly. I agree, man. And they need to make available to the public different angles of the same round. Different angles of the same round. Because for the majority of the fights where you have you know, guys moving around, I get it. It's tough to get, you know, the right shot, the right angle, but you know, they need to cover all the bases so that way at the end we can see what punches landed. Sometimes you have the one fighter where his back's up, you know, his back's facing the camera, and the fighter in front of him could be landing body shots, but you can't tell. You can hear it sometimes, but you don't know if it hit elbow, arm, was it blocked? You know what I mean? Certain things need to change. Definitely. Well, This is just a quick little live stream. I'm gonna be heading out now. I'll do another live stream tomorrow maybe, but just kind of wanted to I don't know, babble on about judge or corruption or whatever, but you know, that's it. Oh, Claudio Monreal. Casinos kept a lot of money with the draw. Well, they did. They did. They kept a lot of money with the draw, but you know, that's one thing I'm seeing is even with that fact, you know, because I know Teddy Atlas, you know, one of the things that he said was follow the money, right? And even if we follow the money and we say, well, this is where the money's going, and you bring up, you know, like the casinos, at the end of the day, all the signs were there for a close fight, even before the fight happened. All the signs were there that this could be a very close fight. And boxing media was talking about this, that this could be a very close fight. But those that went and bet with their heart. So yeah, you had a lot of people betting on a win for Canelo or a win for Triple G. Knockout. I bet you so many people were betting on the knockout. Knockout for Triple G. You know? But that's just not the fight that was presented. You know, if people were betting with their head, with logic, you would put in some money on a draw, just in case, because this could be a fucking close fight. You know what I mean? It's just common sense. And to me, that's an obvious backup to see, hey, just in case so I don't lose too much money, I'm going to put some money on the draw. I'm going to put some money on fighter A or fighter B winning, and then I'll put some money on the draw just in case, so I can recoup anything I lose. That was a possibility, a huge possibility of a draw. Casinos made a lot of money, man. Casinos, the house always wins. The house always wins. People always bet with their heart. They always bet with hopes and dreams. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. All right, guys. This is Aztec 101. You know, I'm done with the video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And I'm out.